Morning. Well, yesterday, the U.S. House Oversight Committee held a public hearing on UFOs. There were 3 former military members who shared what they claim to be personal encounter with UFOs, also known as UAPs or unidentified aerial phenomenon. Well, they also claim that Congress is concealing both their knowledge and their physical proof of UFOs, stating that there is a secret program that captures them. There is so much to dig into here. So many claims, a lot to discuss. Joining us now is Bimm, space historian with the University of Chicago. First of all, good morning and thanks for being with us.
Good morning. You're welcome.
Well, these claims, they might be shocking to some, exciting to some, but there seems to be a lack of evidence here. So let's first talk about your general thoughts about the meeting and just the overarching claims that we heard.
Sure. Well, Carl Sagan, one of the greatest thinkers and communicators about the possibility of extraterrestrial life and a University of Chicago alumni, famously said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And right now, that is the phase we are still in. We're still in the phase of extraordinary claims. Yesterday, we heard some very extraordinary claims from 2 of the pilots who had encountered objects during training missions that they did not understand and could not identify. Their testimony has been in the public eye for many years. What's new is the testimony from the 3rd military intelligence officer, David Grush, who only came out in the last few months and was making claims that others had told him about this program, so secondhand knowledge. So we heard lots of extraordinary claims. What we did not hear or did not see in the House subcommittee hearing yesterday was any evidence at all, extraordinary or otherwise.
I think after hearing all of this, so many people are wondering what's next. What's the next step? I know there's, of course, the evidence is, but there's a lot of time and things that have to happen before we get there.
Exactly. This is a great question to ask because people always want to know where is this going to go. So what I hope will happen is I hope the House subcommittee will investigate Mr. Grush's claims because we need to settle this one way or the other. The public has heard this now, and we need to figure out if it's real or not. So I really hope that they launch a full investigation, search out his claims, and then make those results public. But the public can also tune into something that's going to happen even sooner. So last September, NASA organized a UAP study group, an independent group composed of experts and scientists to study the phenomenon, release a report. It just so happens that report is going to come out in the next few days before the end of the month. So that is going to be another data point for which we can evaluate Mr. Grush's claims. If the independent NASA UAP study group seems to say similar things to what Mr. Grush was testifying to under oath yesterday, then he becomes more credible. If the independent UAP study group comes back with something that points in the other direction or says there's really nothing there, then his burden of proof gets higher.
All right. I'm so glad you're here to help break this all down for us because it's part of your job to track UAP communities online. Can you tell us more about that and your expertise in the field? People who are listening to you are always wondering, does he know what he's talking about and why?
Right. So these communities on places like Reddit and Twitter follow this all the time. So we drop in and we hear about this when there's a big event, but they are constantly in the drip, drip, drip of this sort of almost like an infotainment industrial complex. You know, you have TV shows like Ancient Aliens or The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch that are monetarily invested in this sort of narrative, right? So there are this sort of cadre of performers that are really into the UAP space. So it's really hard to tell where fact and fiction divide. So there are a number of red flags. I teach my students all about this at the University of Chicago in my classes to look for. You know, is there a font of ambiguity? Yes, the sky is a huge and ambiguous place. The military industrial complex and the government can be a very ambiguous place. Are there charismatic leaders who love to talk and make money off this? Yes, those are there as well. So this gives us another reason to be very skeptical of these claims.
Now, speaking of claims, one of the biggest ones circulating online is that the government has UFOs and non-human remains. What do you say to that? Speaking of that, what do you tell to your students about this?
I say with these types of narratives, there's always a nugget of truth. And it is true, as a historical fact, that the U.S. government has kept powerful technology secret from the U.S. public. There is a very big movie out about that right now called Oppenheimer, and you can go and see it. But just because it's true in one instance doesn't mean it's true in every instance. So what I tell my students is to always keep an open mind. We should always follow the facts. And if new facts come out that support his claims, we should follow those. But for any claim of the existence of extraterrestrial life or non-human intelligence, intelligence, we have to start from a place of default robust skepticism. And that's because claims over hundreds of years have always proven to either be natural or human in origin. So that history tells us that we have to start from a stance of default robust skepticism. We need not just extraordinary evidence, but just any evidence, sufficient evidence to believe these claims. And that has not been provided yet.
Well, some critics say that UAPs pose a potential national security risk. Do you believe that?
What I do believe is that those pilots who testified yesterday, I do believe they did see something, because what they saw was seen by multiple pilots. It was picked up by their instruments, and it was seen by many other pilots, according to those reports. So whatever it is out there needs to be studied. And that's why I'm heartened to see NASA organizing this independent UAP study group. This is a question for science, and it could potentially also be a question for air safety. You know, if these objects or phenomena, whatever they are out there, they potentially could interfere with air traffic. So I do believe this merits further study, and Mr. Grush's claims, yes, do merit vigorous investigation, but we are not at the stage of extraordinary evidence. We are at the stage of extraordinary claims still, which is where the ufology community has been for 50 plus years.
All right, so before we go then, because we are in the claims category right now, how would you and other scientists, I know you can only speak for yourself though right now, want the public to view UAPs and the research being done on them as we look to get the evidence part?
I would say it's one of the biggest mysteries of our time. Everyone loves a good mystery, as do I. I'm very interested to find out what is causing these pilots and other folks to see these things in the sky. Is it a phenomenon? Are they actual objects? What is their origin? So I think people should treat this as what it is, which is an unresolved mystery. Don't go any extra steps and claim that we have an explanation for that mystery, which is what the people who believe in space traveling aliens believe. That's one possible explanation, but a UAP is a category of mystery, and let's stay there and let's not go beyond what the facts bear.
Jordan Bimm, postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Chicago. We appreciate your insight, and we also appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Audrina. Thank you.